and welcome to ADHD Friendly. I am Patty. I am the host of ADHD Friendly and here to share some ADHD friendly tips and strategies to help you thrive with ADHD. Been doing this since 2012 as an ADHD coach, and the podcast is nearing its third anniversary, which is very exciting. So let's jump in. This is episode 146, and we're going to be talking about how to create ADHD-friendly family meetings. I am recording solo again today. Becca is still sick. So I'm going to do my best to keep my energy going. It's hard just to talk to a computer, and I don't even have my dog in here with me today, but I'm going to pretend I have a dog in here or a person, or I'm just going to talk to you guys. So let's start as we do with a celebration, always starting with an update to our subscribers. Welcome, 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 new subscribers. Rolling it on up. Got 920. Thank you so much for taking a minute out of your time as a new subscriber, for clicking subscribe, and for return subscribers. Thanks for continuing to check out the information shared here. All right. My celebration. Last week, my daughter treated me to lunch, which felt really cool to have my 19-year-old be like, "Hey, Mom, can I take you to lunch?" That's just such a really unique feeling as a parent, and that they thought of me, that they can afford to do it, all of these kind of things. But the other celebration tied into that is I've shared in a previous episode recently how I structure my tasks throughout the week so that if I get them done, my reward is I get a half day on Friday. If I don't get them done, then I've got the time to finish up on Friday afternoon. But I love, love, love getting to stop when it's lunchtime and not have to come back to my office to do more of the tasks I just wasn't able to get to, or I wasn't motivated, or, my plan to get it done didn't work. And last week it worked. So when she asked me about an hour before my lunch break, I was able to look at my task list and say, yeah, I can go to lunch, and I don't have to worry about kind of coming back into my office after that, because that would be really hard for me to come back and restart after going out to lunch. So my celebration is I was able to take the half day as my reward and go to my lunch, and it made the weekend feel so long and luxurious. So that's a huge celebration. All right, on to what I purchased this week. So this was a little lesson. I'm learning more because this podcast gives me so much structure to what I'm trying to do, because it's holding that accountability for me. This helps me remember that people are taking their time to check out what I'm sharing. And so it really does hold that thread much more than just me trying to do it on my own. And so selfishly, I benefit a lot from the structure of just coming in and sharing each week how things are going and what I've done and what I've noticed. And so in the last couple of months that I've been tracking my spending and building in rewards, it was pretty straightforward. Either it was a want or a need, and it was just clear. This week, what I purchased was a lot of things to make and give for gifts for, I'm going on vacation next week. And so a couple of these episodes are going to be a little maybe out of order, or, the numbers won't make sense because it's just the way I'm recording leading up to and during the vacation. But I'm going to be staying with a couple of relatives, and I decided to make homemade body scrubs. I learned how to do it at a library event. And I like that I could buy like all organic materials, because you're putting it on your skin, and I don't want to put anything on the skin that just might have some kind of underlying chemical or something that's just not needed. I wanted it to be fresh and organic. And so I was like, oh, I'll do that. And that'll save money. In my head, making it myself equated to that'll be budget friendly and a nice gesture and sparkly. So I went and I bought the coconut oil and the organic sugar first. And what I realized was I didn't stop and add up like how much will all the ingredients cost and what is the end result of the price that I'm going to pay for these little like host gifts, if you will. And what was interesting is once I bought the coconut oil and the sugar, I felt like almost like that sunk cost, like I'm already invested, because what am I going to do with this huge thing of Costco sized coconut oil and a big thing of organic sugar, which I can use in my baking, but still I was already feeling like I was invested in. I've already started, I'm going to keep going. And so everything else ended up costing for the little jars, and the oils themselves were really expensive. At least, I don't know, in my head, I thought they'd be like $2 or $3, maybe $5 at the most. And they were all like at least $12 each, which was shocking. So I ended up spending over $70 on the ingredients to make these little 6 jars. Was, and even the jars themselves were really expensive compared to, I don't know, in my head, it was almost like that it all stretched. Like I don't know what the final price is, but in my head, it just felt like, yeah, it'll be great. Well, I didn't define great. I didn't define what is my kind of limit, what I'm going to spend on these, or even look at it in advance to see, does this make sense? So I ended up spending far more. I'm not quite sure where to put this in terms of want, need. It was definitely, I don't need to do a host gift, but I didn't want to show up empty-handed. I could have, done something far less expensive, but in the scheme of things, it was a learning experience. I'm taking what I noticed and just going to continue to build my awareness of how often do I do this, where I just get in my head what I think I'm going to do without stopping to think about, well, how much is that going to be? How many things will I need to buy? And what's the total for that? And then do I still want to proceed? I know I do this a lot around holidays with gifts and that kind of thing. I tend to have a blind spot where this comes in. So I'm just noticing that pattern and I'm going to continue. But I didn't buy anything unplanned, but I don't quite know where to, I'm kind of not saying I went off of my spending plan, but I'm definitely going to need to pay attention to how often this comes up, because it was an interesting experience. But I am happy with the way the jars turned out, but I did have to end up just, thinking, what else do I need? Because it's still not done. I don't have like labels for them. That might be next week, what I purchase next week. We'll see. Okay, so on to a tip for today, and it is related to spending, but when you think about things you need to get, especially if they're things that you use every day and maybe lose often, think about buying bright, shiny things. So this is almost an invitation to explore that bolder side, that sparkle, if you will. Like a good example, like, is your phone case. If you need to replace your phone case, getting one that's bright so it's going to stand out and you'll see it more easily when you put it down. Maybe an umbrella. A lot of times, just grabbing a black umbrella, they all look the same. So if you go someplace and everybody's umbrellas are kind of in a pile, it's hard to pick yours out. But it also makes them almost like blend into the background of everything. So you might leave it at a restaurant more easily, or whatever, you're out and about, or forget to grab it because it's just not that bright. So maybe a bright umbrella. Your suitcase, oh my gosh, like looking at all of the exact same suitcases coming around the conveyor belt is just draining. So even if you already have a suitcase that's like a neutral color, maybe tying a bright ribbon on it or putting some tape that's a bright, what, I forget what it's called, washi tape, something, you guys know what I mean. And just put it on there so that you can see your suitcase more easily when you are going through airports to keep track of yours. File folders are a fun thing I like to get in a bold color. I don't love filing, but I do find myself pulled in if it's a sparkly, bright color file. It also helps me to kind of categorize different projects by color, and I can pick them out more easily. It makes it easier to find. And then one of my favorite things is like clothing, especially if I'm going out with other people in my family. I love for them to wear a bright color so I can pick them out in a crowd more easily. It's just so much easier to find and meet back up with each other if you do separate for any period of time. And then finally, I have a friend who loves color. Like I am a very neutral. I don't wear bold colors unless I'm needing that energy for some reason, or I'm just feeling it that morning. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get a bold or like a little like accessory. But she like embraces the bold and the sparkly color, and in everything that she does, from her nails to her clothes, to the yarn colors that she picks, to her car. She has a very, very bright yellow car. And what I love about that is every time I go to my knit group, I know if she's there or not, because her car is like, I don't know anybody else's car, I know hers. And it's just so sparkly to know when I see, I'm like, oh, there she is, that's her car. So if you like this idea, just think about one area. It could be just your water bottle, something that's going to make it stand out and easier to find that this one's mine, even within your own household. Knowing I have the bright pink one, or I have the neon green one, can help you to pick yours out among the crowd. So buy bright, shiny things is the tip for this week. All right, on to our main topic, planning ADHD-friendly family meetings. So if this is something that you aren't doing yet, I'm going to encourage you to explore if having regular family meetings is something that can create a little more calm and ease in your family routines. And the structure for this is typically weekly. And the first thing I'm going to share is how families with ADHD can really benefit from this structure. It's just a chance to routinely check in on what's going on this week. It gives you a chance to stretch your time horizon. So we're not so much what's happening right now, or what time do we need to leave, or what, is going on for lunch or dinner tonight. It's what do we have coming up this entire week? So every day doesn't feel like we're almost like being like kind of jarred and shocked by something coming up that we weren't anticipating. So maybe we're avoiding those, 10 o'clock at night runs to Target to buy a project display board for one of your kids' projects that's due the next day that they just remember that day to tell you. Where if we're practicing stretching our time horizon to the week ahead, everybody has a chance to think about what's coming up, what will we need, what do we need to do about carpool. It's just giving you a chance to touch base and pin things down before you're already in the week ahead. So when you think about doing this, the first step is to pick when. Most people will do this on Sunday mornings. I recommend waiting until after everybody's eaten so that you don't have, that kind of hanger going on and the kids are able to focus a bit longer, but keep that in mind, right? So the main thing is keep it short and fun so that the kids are being pulled into it. In my family growing up, if there was a family meeting, they happened very infrequently and they were always, at least in my memory, tied to something bad. They weren't good things. I used to get very anxious if we were having a family meeting because it had this heaviness to it. And I didn't want that when I was having family meetings with my kids when they were smaller. And so we tried to keep them light. But I'm going to be honest, we struggled with consistency. It was, kind of, I think the beginning of the school year, we would start them each year, but we'd fall off a few weeks in just due to, various challenges around it. So a lot of it was with 4 kids, getting all of them together in one space was difficult. So what I would go back and change now, knowing what I know now, is I would probably have a timer and I would set it for 10 minutes and the kids would know we're only going to sit here for 10 minutes. Whatever we get done in 10 minutes, we'll get done. And then you guys can go. So that there's a limit to how long I'm expecting them to focus, I think would have helped a lot. Getting them involved would have been, I think, more helpful. So like maybe if I had like the agenda for what we're going to go through on a clipboard and each week a different kid took a turn kind of running down like, hey, what's next on the agenda? So we're going through the things without forgetting anything that we intend to talk about, but somebody else, gets a chance at almost like running the meeting and keeping us on time. The other time that was very popular that from my little bit of research around timing of family meetings besides Sunday morning was Monday night. And what was interesting about that idea was it gives you a chance to go into your week one day and get really connected to what's the schedule at work this week, what's the schedule for sports or school, was there a project assigned on Monday that's due on Friday? It gives you a chance to check in after you're in your week for the rest of the week ahead. I personally am a Sunday morning person, but use what works for you and your family. That's really the important thing to build consistency. Make it fun, make it fun, make it fun as much as you can. Keep this light, because remember, even if you think about if you have meetings at work, if it's something that you're just like, oh my gosh, this again, it's not sustainable. So we want to pull them into, like, maybe you have like little snacks when your guys are, come together, we're going to have our family meeting. I've got the family meeting snacks, whatever it is. Make it something that they're ending on a positive too. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about how you can structure the agenda to keep it light and fun. So first, make it really consistent and repeatable. So maybe put it on chart paper so everybody can see it and see where you are in the family meeting. Or like I said, like on a clipboard can be helpful where one kiddo is kind of going down and letting you know where we are. I always start with wins. So maybe asking everybody like, what's a win from the past week, or what's a family win? If there was something that you guys want to acknowledge for your family, so that there's that placeholder for capturing those successes, either individual or family. And then just evaluating like what happened last week, how did it go? Were there any challenges with the carpool? So you're kind of actively looking for what would you change this week to make that go a little bit better. And then what's coming up this week? What are the scheduling things we need to know? Are there any conflicts with carpool or cars? Like my husband and I share a car, and it doesn't happen a lot, but every once in a while I'll have something that will conflict with something he has. And then we've got to kind of look at the kids and who has a car that we can use that they aren't using at that time. Getting that planned out in advance is so much less stressful than realizing that moment, I have an appointment, you have an appointment, and there's no cars here. So talking that through when we're all calm and we have the time to adjust is really helpful. And then maybe you want to talk about any sports, any kind of calendar. Is there anybody's birthday coming up? Like, what else do we need to be aware of schedule wise? And then meals. Now that you know the schedule, you can kind of see like, okay, what nights does it make sense to have an at-home at the dinner table meal and who's going to be cooking it? And what nights does it make sense to plan for kind of grab as you can or drive through or order in, whatever it is. You're just kind of looking at what does the week look like and who's going to be around what nights. And then maybe ask for any requests. So maybe some of your kids need a haircut and they're like, you know what, can we get a haircut scheduled sometime in the next week or two, so that you have a chance to plan for that instead of it being something that it's like, oh, that's right, I got to think about that. It's like kids get a chance to ask for what they need. Maybe they want to have a friend over. So they're like, hey, can we see if there's time this weekend for me to have my friend sleep over? Can they come home after school on Wednesday or something that, you have a chance to think about it while you're looking at your schedule. So time for requests. The next might be a chance to check in on chores. Are there any specific chore changes or assignments that you want to talk through for the upcoming week? And finally, I always think of it as like bookending. Start with fun with wins and with fun with family time. So identifying a family activity, whether it's a family game night, family movie night, whatever it is, something fun that the family is looking forward to. Again, we want the family meeting to be fun so that it's repeatable. So we're building that consistency. So I like the idea of bookending it with the sparkly things. So they come in looking forward to the wins and they leave excited about what the family time is going to be that week. And then I just ask you to think about what else would you include when you think about family meetings for your individual family. What would you need to build into that to make it work for you? All right, on to my book of the week. All right, this week I read Summer Romance. If you are listening to this podcast, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel, ADHD-Friendly, where I share the visuals in each episode. This is from Annabelle Monahan is the author. Really enjoyable. It was about a professional organizer. Her mom died 2 years previously. She was very close with her mom. Her husband left her 1 year ago on the 1-year anniversary of her mom's death. The ex-husband reminds me a lot of a friend of mine, the way that she described her son-in-law. And it's just really, I found it very interesting to read about somebody's husband in real life, or connecting it with somebody's husband in real life, where I was like, oh, this is really very similar to what I've heard about that person. But it is funny, like laugh out loud funny. It's moving, it's sweet. It's just a great light summer read. Read it in like 2 days, super enjoyable. Highly recommend it. All right, and now for my quote of the week. This is from James Clear. James says, the first minute of action is worth than a year of perfect planning. Oh, James, love the way he pins things down in really simple ways. So I would invite you to explore if that resonates for you. What's the first little minute of action you can take around a family meeting, right? We can plan them all year long, but if we don't start, we aren't giving ourselves a chance to notice what's working and what we would change. So the smallest things, right, always are the way to start thriving with ADHD, allowing ourselves to find that easy way to start. That's it for this episode. Again, this is 146. As always, take what works for you, leave the rest behind. And I can't wait to see you next time. It'll be on vacation, or depending on how I order them, right after, they'll be kind of mixed up, but I'm planning a couple of that I'm going to record during the vacation. So I'm excited to share those with you. Until then, tally ho.